Today's assignment is how to make slip. In order to do our projects from this point forward, we need to have a little container of slip. So you're going to start out by finding a container of some sort that has a lid that your mom or dad aren't going to mind that you use. I have this little one made by Ziploc. A plastic container is a little bit better. That way if you drop it on the floor, it won't break. But if you don't have something like this, you could always take a jar, like a pickle jar. I just like this one because I like the plastic and I like the size of it. You also need a scrap piece of newspaper. So I have my paper, I have my slip container that I'm going to be using, and I have a little bit of water here, and I have the package, the same package that you picked up from the high school here. Now I opened up that package and I took out a piece of clay that was literally this big. So I'm going to show you. It's not big at all. If I were to put it in my hand, I can completely cover up the clay with my hand. You don't want to use a whole bunch of clay to do this, because what will happen is if you use too much clay, you won't have any left over for the projects that we're going to be doing in the upcoming 2 weeks. Make sure that you completely close up your clay again so that it doesn't dry out. Ideally, you would think that you could just take this clay and you can water it down. So you might take and put it in your little container and pour water into it, but clay is hydrophobic. Now what hydrophobic means, that is in general it tends to repel water. So we could put that in here and fill it up with water, but what would happen is it would take probably a good 5-6 days for this to break down into slip that we could use, just because it's going to repel the water before it starts to absorb the water. But what you need to do is you need to, on your sheet of newspaper, you're going to take that clay, and I just want you to break it up into little chunks. And the reason why we want little chunks like this is so that it dries out really fast. Here's all my little pieces of clay on the McKinnon's flyer that came in the mail today, and then I'm just going to let it sit here and dry out for about an hour. I had to wait a little bit longer than an hour. It actually took probably a good 6 hours to get bone dry. You can just leave yours overnight, and then step 2 you can do tomorrow. Because of that, I'm going to move the due dates. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to get this done. But you want to wait until all your little pieces of clay are bone dry. If you don't wait till they're bone dry, they'll just smush. They won't crush. Because the next step is you're just going to take a glass, the bottom of a glass, and you're just going to press down until you've crushed everything. Okay, so I'm just finishing up, and you'll notice I've gotten them about as fine as I can, so that they're almost like a clay dust. See that? Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little container, my slip container, and I'm just going to pour it in, like so. Make sure you get every last little bit. Okay, so see, I've got my little container full of dry clay. Now I'm going to add water to this, and I'm going to do it a little bit at a time because I don't want to add too much water. And now that the clay is dry, it's no longer hydrophobic. And I'm going to use a fork to just kind of stir it up. And ooh, I think I may have used just a little bit too much water. If I use too much water, I can pour a little bit back, because I want to be able to mush it like this and really stir it up. And notice that it's still even a little hydrophobic now, but I think at this point, if we just let it sit, it'll be really good slip, so that next week we can use it to make a project. So you're going to take a picture of it, upload it to your Google slideshow that's in the folder on Google Docs. Then cap it. Make sure you get your cap on good and tight so that it doesn't dry out. You can shake it up, and my slip is all ready to go for tomorrow.